Alice's Flight from Looking-Glass Castle, an alternative ending revealed. First, a little background. Lewis Carroll published Through the Looking Glass in 1871. It was illustrated by John Tenniel. In the book, the characters are playing a grand game of chess, where the ranks are divided by brooks and the files by hedges. Alice plays a white pawn. She's going to move up during the course of the story to become a queen. Carroll gives us the position of the characters at the start of the book, and he gives us the schema of how they will move during the book. Sometimes white moves several times in a row, and some of these moves are not even moves at all. I'm going to number the 11 moves on the left with the 10 moves on the right, and just renumber them up to 21 for ease of discussion. Well, we're actually going to begin in Chapter 9, Queen Alice. As you can see in John Tenniel's illustration, the queens are lined up as they are on the chessboard at this stage in the game or in the book. We have the white queen, we have Alice, and the red queen. White queen, Alice, and the red queen. Well, the white queen goes off and falls into the soup tureen. This is actually a pretty odd move, even in looking-glass chess, and we'll soon see why it happens. This check is ignored, I should tell you, in the story. Alice will go off and find the red queen. She's angry at her, and she has actually shrunken as well, and she grabs her and shakes her. And as she does, she awakes, and she's shaken the black kitten. And this, of course, is checkmate. Why can't the king go there? Well, because of the soup tureen, that's why. And then we know that's why Carroll made that move. So we went into the shaking chapter and the waking chapter, but I want to roll back and go to the Tweedledum and Tweedledee chapter, chapter 4. And that is this position on the chessboard. Alice is now the pawn, and we can see she's next to the red king, therefore he can come into the story. And he's snoring, and they come across him. And Tweedledum and Tweedledee tell her that she's nothing but a character in his dream. If that there king was to wake, you'd go out bang just like a candle, they tell her. Alice replies, I shouldn't, and they tell her, you're only one of the things in his dream. You know very well you're not real. I am real, Alice cries. It's a very emotional scene for her. Well, she actually brings this up a few chapters later in chapter 8, before she actually meets the red knight and the white knight. She's speaking to herself. And she says, I only do hope it's my dream and not the red king's. I don't like belonging to another person's dream. I have a great mind to go and wake him and see what happens. Now, we go to the last chapter, and she brings this up again about the Red King and his dream, and who is real and who isn't. And that's how the book ends. Well, let's go back to Queen Alice, chapter 9, where we began anyway. Here is the setup, and remember, the white queen fell into the soup tureen. But I want to focus on that red king. Now, I believe Carroll knew he had an alternative ending, a second ending. And this began with the red queen falling into the soup tureen, either here or here. And then Alice flies out of the castle and meets that red king head on. Of course, this illustration doesn't appear in the book. I'm concocting it from 2 illustrations by John Tenniel. Well, she shakes the red king awake. And she has it out with him. And she has some grand philosophical conversation, maybe, in good Carrollian style. The red king could threaten to attack her, but the beauty of it is she can point out she is protected by the white knight. And this is a bit touching, because it's that beloved character, that character that we are told that meant so much to her years later. Well, I believe this could be a stronger ending, a more meaningful ending, even a more powerful ending to the book. But Carroll did not choose it. Well, why do I believe that Carroll even knew it? Why do I believe that he actually thought of this ending, at least? Well, I'll show you. Rosewood remembers when she was a 12-year-old girl, Carroll said to her, "I cannot decide what to make the Red Queen turn into." Rose replied, "She looks so cross, please turn her into the Black Kitten." Then Carroll replied, "That would do splendidly, and the White Queen shall be the White Kitten." Well, that's not exactly what I said. So let's do a little counterattack here. Rosewood is remembering something from 75 years before. Little girls would more naturally relate to kittens and not chess pieces. In other words, Rose believes that Carroll had this choice between a black kitten and a white kitten. I believe, rather, the choice was between a red queen and a red king, which one to shake awake. Girls relate to kittens. They don't relate to chess pieces as well. And I believe it's not the 75 years that are the problem. It's more likely, when the book came out, that she misremembered it. Human memory is faulty. More scientists tell us every day, that our memories are not as good as we think they are. Third, the ridiculous and stated alternative that Alice would shake a white piece into a black kitten or shake a red piece into a white kitten? It makes no sense. It's as absurd as Looking Glass chess is. The idea that Carroll would have a black piece turn into a white kitten? I mean, give me a break. Her story makes no sense. The coincidence that the alternative is so easily found on the board. We know that white queen is falling into the soup tureen solely so Carroll can make that checkmate, but we could have the red queen do something just as silly. And then, I have a great mind to go and wake him and see what happens. Alice states that. Carroll anticipated this ending. And so that is why I think we can turn that shaking of the Red Queen into the shaking of the Red King.